Managing bias in migration, understanding, challenging, and changing perceptions. This video we will start with a little story. Adam, he fled his country because of persecution of his sexual orientation. The Home Office rejected him due to lack of evidence of his LGBTQ+ identity, despite Ghana's criminalization of same-sex relationships. Migration is a global reality, but it often comes with deep-rooted biases. In this video, we'll explore what bias in migration looks like, why it happens, and how can we manage it, individually and as a society.
Understanding bias in migration. Migration bias refers to prejudice or systematically distorted perceptions, attitudes, or policies toward migrants that are influenced by xenophobia, nationalism, stereotypes, or misinformation. It can lead to portrayals, political discourse, policy making in everyday social interaction. Let's explore some real-world examples. First, in media. If a migrant commits a crime, the story might receive wide coverage in the media, while similar crimes by locals receive little attention. This creates a public impression that migrants are violent, even though statistics may show otherwise. 2. In politics. During economic crisis, some politicians may claim that migrants are taking citizen jobs, even though many migrants work in positions locals often refuse. Politicians use this bias to gain support, even if the claim isn't backed by data. 3. In daily life. A landlord might refuse to rent a house to a migrant simply because they are from a different culture or not one of us, regardless of their behavior or qualifications, just because they belong to an outside group. 4. In education or work. Migrants may be assumed to be less competent at work or in school, even before their actual performance is assessed, which creates unfair barriers to opportunity.
Media often emphasizes security risks 40% and economic burdens 30%, while underrepresenting humanitarian aspects 20%. Terms like illegal and threat dominate headlines, reinforcing stereotypes and migrants as dangerous or parasitic. During our history, there were certain events that shaped how migrants are perceived. For example, securitization after 9/11 or the Brexit. Historical legacies like colonial hierarchies, scapegoating traditions, or cultural exceptionalism. Negative correlation. Perception often lags behind flow reductions, media amplifications, perception spikes align with crisis farming in headlines. Policy impact 2024 slight perception dip follows legal pathway expansions in Europe.
Social consequences are xenophobia, exclusion, and discrimination. Economic consequences lead to missed opportunity in labor market, which leads to barriers to integration. Political consequences are polarization and political narratives.
The psychology of bias. Bias is a natural tendency, inclination, or prejudice toward or against something or someone. We tend to search for, interpret, favor, and recall that information in a way that confirms or supports one's prior beliefs or values. The role of misinformation and selective storytelling. Misinformation spreads quickly when it fits people's beliefs and emotions, especially through selective storytelling that highlights certain facts and ignores others. These stories reinforce biases and are hard to correct. Combating this requires raising awareness about how stories can mislead and offering truthful, reliable alternatives. Social media and algorithmic amplification of biased content. Social media platforms like TikTok, Instagram, or Facebook rely on algorithms to curate content for users, prioritize posts in feeds and recommend new creators or videos. These algorithms are typically driven by likes, comments, shares, users' behavior and preferences and trends and demographics as well. When it comes to migration, these social medias can create algorithm bias. Algorithms are built by humans and trained on data, which can introduce bias. For example, small creators may get less exposure. Certain visual features, for example, skin tone, gender presentation, may be unintentionally deprioritized. Language or region-specific content might be suppressed.
Managing and reducing bias. We can divide this section in two parts, individual level and institutional level. Firstly, we will have a look on individual level. Education and exposure to migration can help with integration of migrants and to learn about culture and their habits. To be aware about the biases we can make and avoid them. This can be done through intercultural projects or, for example, Erasmus+.
On an institutional level, institutions can reduce bias by combining inclusive policies, strong legal frameworks, leadership commitment, and regular monitoring to create fairer, more equitable environments. In inclusive policies, like use objective, standardized criteria for hiring and promotion. For example, in anti-discrimination laws like the US Civil Rights Act, the EU Equal Treatment Directives, and other protect against discrimination based on race, gender, disability, and more. For example, in leadership and culture, hold leaders accountable for meeting diversity and inclusion goals. And, for example, monitoring and improvement. Regularly audit policies and practice for hidden bias. Unity is strength, but is only achieved when we work together. Martin Luther King Jr.